So as the new year gets closer and closer, it's very hard not to think back at everything that we have accomplished or not accomplished in the last 12 months. For those of us who continually seek to improve ourselves, January 1st is the perfect opportunity to try to become braver, healthier, more successful, or richer than the last year. And so we try to formulate goals mostly in the form of habits that will potentially lead our ideal self to becoming our real self. Unfortunately though, surveys have shown that while 75% of Americans feel very confident in their capacity to achieve their New Year's resolutions in the beginning of the year, by the end of the year, a different survey showed that only 9% felt that they were successful in reaching their goals. So in this video, I'm hoping to share with you guys a few things that have helped me maintain my New Year's resolutions from last year, while also sharing a few tips on how I'm planning on using technology to help me make my New Year's resolutions this year successful as well. Welcome to the channel. My name is Frank. I'm just about to be a first-year medical student, and on this channel we talk about medical school, and in addition to strategies, tools, and books that will help us become better human beings. Anyways, let's jump into the video. So, what is the secret to being successful in your New Year's resolution? Well, the answer to me is pretty simple, and there's no concrete data to back this up, but just from years of experience at failing to meet my goals one after the other, I think that there were two things that were holding me back from not being successful in keeping to my resolutions. The first thing preventing me from making any sort of meaningful progress was really just not checking in with my goals at a regular interval. And the second thing was not using concrete data to track my progress along the way. What do I mean by this exactly? For me, my resolutions followed a pretty predictable line of events for the longest time. First of all, I would sit down with a nice cup of hot chocolate and write out all of the great things that I wanted to accomplish in the coming year. Then I would write some sort of abstract and very time-intensive routine on my Notes app on my iPhone, hoping that this would help me maintain my goals throughout the year and achieve them. Inevitably, I would just fall off the bandwagon and then 3 months down the line, forget about the list in the first place, until I eventually found it again and felt very bad about myself for not keeping up with my routine. If this sounds familiar, I'm right there with you. I was on this cycle for years and years until finally this last year, I actually did something different, which took me out of that loop. I made a routine monthly check-in. On my blog, I made a giant list of all of my New Year's resolutions, and every single month, at the end of the month, I had to sit down and write like a little mini paragraph or mini summary saying what I was doing to actually achieve that goal. By doing this, I was essentially forced to write out how I had been spending my time in the previous month, and essentially forced to acknowledge if I had been failing at meeting my goals. All of this made it like super infinitely easier to adjust course along the way, since by checking in every month, you really do take notice of what has been working and what hasn't been working. Having the check-ins also resulted in something pretty interesting, whereby even though I didn't achieve all of my goals for this year, I don't have that same weird feeling of failure because I've seen the growth. I was forced to record my progress, and then from writing every single month, I know exactly how much work I have put into every single thing that I outlined. So if you're watching this now, I strongly recommend that you at least have like one document somewhere where you can just list out every single goal that you have for the next upcoming year. And then at the end of the month, just spend like 30 minutes really just filling it out, going one by one and seeing where you are at each point. I think those 30 minutes of writing every single month have been the most rewarding this entire year for me, because it's helped me adjust along the way and make sure that I have some growth in the progress, even though, like I said, some of these goals weren't actually met. And if you're looking for some sort of template and want a better idea on how this could potentially look on the page that you've hopefully made by now to track all of your goals, I'm gonna link my blog in the description below so you can see my own personal 2021 template where I tracked all of my resolutions. But for now, let's move on to the second step in making your resolutions a reality: tracking. Data is everything. It allows us to visualize things that we would otherwise not notice in the busyness of day-to-day life. My personal favorite quote goes something like, "What gets measured gets managed." And I found this is applicable to almost everything and is an extremely powerful idea if we want to seek some sort of meaningful improvement. And so this is why I'm more on the side of making New Year's resolutions something that can easily be tracked or measured rather than something very abstract. There are some goals that are exceptions to this rule, such as finding love or trying to be more grateful or having a more meaningful life in the new year. But for the most part, goals should be designed with tracking in mind because, for example, it's a lot easier to have a New Year's resolution of lowering your cholesterol level than trying to be healthier. One of these is measurable and you can visually see your cholesterol levels go down and know if you're heading in the right direction, while being healthier is a more abstract and general thing that is very hard to track, and so by default, it's much harder to achieve and focus on in the long run. Once you have your resolutions set though, and they're easily trackable, we can move on to the technology aspect where we can take advantage of different systems to help track our progress and make sure that we're heading in the right direction towards achieving our goals. So I'm gonna share with you guys 4 different apps that I absolutely love and I currently use to track things like health, money, reading habits, and pretty much everything else very, very simply. Let's start with the big one, diet. Whether or not you want to lose weight is really up to you, but along with the theme of this video, remember, we want to track everything and know we're heading in the right direction. And the app that I've been using in the last few months to lose weight in a healthy and effective way is called MacroFactor. This app is extremely useful because it uses an algorithm to estimate how much energy your body actually burns passively throughout the day, and then by using that estimate, it gives you a set caloric limit you have to limit yourself to depending on whether your goal is to gain or lose weight. The most optimal way to use this app is to weigh yourself every single day first thing in the morning and then log that into the app so that the algorithm can then track how much your body burns on average. And then all you really have to do is just either scan barcodes or add food in manually and not go over the caloric limit that the app has set for you. Personally, I've been using MacroFactor for around 3 months now. Before that, I was using MyFitnessPal, but I found MyFitnessPal a little bit quirky. It is a good free alternative, but I was willing to pay for the vetted database that MacroFactor has and like the algorithm that it uses to track your weight. And honestly, I've been losing weight pretty effectively, so I'm very happy with it and will continue using it for the foreseeable future. The next app I use a lot is YNAB, and this has to do with money. Money is one of the most important things to track. It can affect relationships, it can affect how you feel, your stressors, and obviously like how you're doing in terms of financial health. And so if your New Year's resolution has some sort of financial health aspect to it, I would strongly recommend this app. It lets you essentially budget for every single thing. It lets you put all your accounts in one place. It's very handy. In doing so, you can actually track your net worth throughout the year. It's super fun to do, and it gets you very motivated to pay down debt. I used to be extremely stressed about money because I really didn't have any concrete idea of like how much I was supposed to be spending on how much I could spend. But after successfully using YNAB and just implemented it into my daily routine, since I know where literally every single cent in my bank account is going, I'm not stressed about money anymore. And that has been like an absolute game changer in my life. App number 3 has to do with reading. I think reading is something a lot of people aim to do with their New Year's resolution, and that's simply because reading increases your vocabulary, it makes you more knowledgeable as you gain access to more information. And personally, I do think it has a net positive aspect on your life. GoodReads then is perfect for tracking this goal because GoodReads is, after all, a free app that anyone can use. It makes for an extremely handy place to list every book that you want to read. It keeps track of all of the books that you have read, and in the beginning of the year, it actually sets you up to make a reading goal for the year. So let's say you want to read, I don't know, 40 books in a year. You set your reading goal in the beginning of the year, and throughout the year, you can check on your goal and see how much progress you have made. On top of all of this, it is also a social platform. So if you have your friends added on GoodReads, you can see what they're reading and sort of be motivated to read even more. I would definitely recommend GoodReads if anyone has any sort of plans to be able to read more in the upcoming year. Finally, for app number 4, this one is a bit more technical, it's a bit more pro, but Google Sheets is like surprisingly useful. Personally, I use this to actually track my cholesterol levels throughout the year as I get gradual blood work done. And additionally, I actually use this at the gym to track how much weight I've been lifting for a bunch of different particular exercises, so then I can improve upon that throughout the year. In Google Sheets, you can make graphs to see gradual progress, or you can just list things out. But it's very versatile to essentially track everything, as long as you understand that this is a very manual process and is more time intensive than all of the other 3 apps on this list. So in summary, I think that everything can sort of be diluted into 2 main points. Have monthly check-ins to make sure that you're headed in the right direction, and 2, track your progress so that when you have monthly check-ins, you know if you're heading in the right direction. I hope you guys have found this useful. Remember, I'm gonna leave some links in the description below if you're curious about the template, where to find the different apps and things like that. If you wouldn't mind, I would really appreciate it if you could smash that like button and subscribe if you like this video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I wish you all the best of luck on your New Year's resolutions. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.